Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Grozovoi and why this ship gets overlooked by so many people. It's a tier 10, so it faces a lot of different kinds of opponents. Specifically, the Z-52, which comes to mind as my favorite tier 10 destroyer. Daring, which has the highest fire rate. I think might be Holland actually. Um, but Z52 has the most effective AP DPM out of all the tier 10s. But why do I bring up Grozovoi in this? Well, first of all, you rarely ever see it. Two, if you compare it next to Gearing, you really can tell why. Gearing is a very popular tier 10, even though it's pretty irrelevant these days. But it's just still very popular because it's an easy line to play up, especially for new players. Um, Grozovoi actually has worse AP and HE DPM than a Gearing, which, if you get beaten by a Gearing, there's something wrong. But the DPM, yes, the DPM is better in a Gearing, but it's the pure trading power. The AP and HE salvos are better on a Grozovoi by a couple hundred, I think. Uh, but it's not going to fight a Z52 par for par. Uh, I remember, I think one of these games here that you'll be seeing. I think it's the second one. I I felt severely handicapped fighting it, knowing how capable of a Z52 is. So I had to have help to take it out. So the torp range, let's talk about torp power here. If the Grozovoi had stronger torps than a Gearing, I feel like I'd see it more. Uh, Look at that awesome blind shot kill there on that Gearing. Felt pretty good. Uh, but yeah, the Gearing has 4.5k damage torps versus 4.1 on a Grozovoi. The torps go the same speed, same range, and you can get a legendary mod. It does the same thing as like a Z52, increases the speed, but gives you a reduction in range along with detection. I wanted to like this ship, and I do. I really do like Grozovoi, even though it's just a worse Gearing, and already Gearing is pretty vanilla, but it's the fact that it's a different ship than Gearing, and I like showing that it can, in fact, put down numbers and do work. I just wish it had a sonar, which I believe is what it has on PC. And in PC, it's actually a pretty solid ship. Pretty good contender for a tier 10. It can do a lot of different things. So let's talk about getting to Grozovoi. First, what you have to do is play through Minsk again, which for many people is a bit of a pain. When I played it, I actually kind of had fun because I played it early, and I had enough. I just free XP'd it to Ognavoy. But so let's talk about Ognavoys first before going through all the others. Uh, Ognavoy, it has four 130s, so it's not the most powerful, but it can still trade against something like a Benson, which, I mean, Benson's one of the most common tier 8 destroyers in the game. It's a very popular ship for a reason. It's a really good ship to learn DD on at tier 8. Uh, you've got similar torp range, you've got similar detection, you've got pretty easy to aim guns because of those flat Russian shell trajectories, and they're 130. So what you lack in shell volume, you make up in the damage. So it feels actually quite competent. And you finally have smoke. So you got two charges of smoke. Yeah, you get defensive AA, which really doesn't help. when you get out of Ognavoy, you will go to Udaloy, which has a much powerful set of weapons. You've got 6 130s, you've got 12 torps instead of 8, and they are arranged in a wing configuration with a single centerline rack. So what that means is that you have to swing your ship from one side to the other to get all 12 off, which in play you really won't do as much as you are going to be doing at low tiers, because low tiers you can screw around more. But when you're fighting more serious opponents, you're doing that, spinning around to get all your torps off, you might come into detection because Udaloy, it's not a Yugumo. It's not a super stealthy destroyer, and it's no Harbin where the torps are going to be where your mouse is at the right time. The way wing torps work is one side points one way and the other side points the opposite way. So if you want to play it like a Harbin, basically, you're going to have to wait for that other torp launcher to turn the other way. But if you want to do that, I recommend getting the torpedo turret traverse modification in the first slot. It's going to have more torp range than a Kiev, I think. Which when I got through it for the first time, getting to Khabarovsk, it had abysmal torp range. It had like a 4.5 kilometer range. So all were going to do in that was just gun things down. And even then, I had an alright time with that. Although, once I played Z46, I was like, okay, this changes everything. And my heart was set on Z46 for my favorite Tier 9 destroyer, and I sold Kiev shortly after. So Udaloy, playing both at the same time, which is exactly what I did, it was a bigger breath of fresh air than playing Kiev, because you had no smoke when playing Kiev. And added onto that, your gun power was relatively the same, aside from Kiev having a reload booster, which only cut your reload down by like a second. So if you like the sound of a more versatile version of a Kiev with smoke and more torps, then you'll like Udaloy. Now these days, it is impossible to get Khabarovsk from the tech tree. But even if you could, I still wouldn't recommend it. Delny is vastly superior to Khabarovsk because of its torp range mainly, and the fact that you can play it like an actual destroyer and not have to YOLO everything to kill it with torps. So that brings up the question, would you get Grozovoi or Delny? And the pretty obvious answer is Grozovoi. Again, Delny, you never see it ever in games, specifically because it doesn't have a smoke. And even with the fact that it has 6 guns, 6 130s, it still can't beat a frickin' Z52, which has more usability. And yeah, you get a reload booster on Delny, but there are ships that can spew out more magic, that popped in my head, more magic than a Delny and do more work. For example, Kleber, which is a ship I really want to get. It's just that the grind to the Tier 9 is a bit of a pain. I'm working on the Guipard right now, and it's, it's I have Eigel, and I really like Eigel. What else? You got Holland. That's a very competent Tier 10. It's, again, the getting to the Tier 9 is a bit of a pain. And I really am not a fan of the low damage torps, but that gun power is really nice. So, Delny, it still doesn't work when you're fighting a proper destroyer with smoke. Someday I'll get a video for you guys on that ship. It's just not on my priority list to get maxed out right now. Oh my god, and then you've got Gdansk, which is another line that I'd like to get. And Gdansk is basically a Mogador, I think, without a reload booster. It's got 140s, 3.8 second reload. You've got tons of torps that you can spam out at will. Uh, and then you've got the OG, the gearing. It's still a good destroyer in 2024, just not a broken broken piece of crap like Z52. Although, how dare I say piece of crap to my favorite Z52? So before I go, I'm going to show you guys what I use for my Grozovoi in terms of equipment loadout and a quick look at the commander. Although I'm not going to go over it super in depth like I used to, so I'll show you. I got reload mod, I got propulsion, and the concealment. I use battery mod too because the turret traverse is already pretty good, 30 degrees per second. So I thought, hey, let's bring the reload down a little bit, give it a um, better, better job at fighting other tier 10 destroyers, and of course concealment because it's a destroyer, and that's kind of obvious. Well, almost to level 11. That's cool. Yeah, here's my build. It's pretty common for a destroyer. Um, and on tier 11, I'll just use IFHE, and then I'll use the Giant Hunter for tier 12. I really like these, by the way. I'll give you a little sneak peek what I did. I had a bunch saved up. I'll show you my Atlanta. Look at this. Isn't this pretty? So what this does, or this one, uh, gives you an extra usage of skills. So, and Atlanta has a single smoke. So if you get if you get the first kill, you get 2 smokes. And I'll show you some of that. That's kind of a hint for another video sometime. Because you guys know that I love my Atlanta. 2.5 million XP. I think I've played like 500 games in Atlanta in the past year. Oh yeah, and I bought the historical camo because I just think it looks really neat. And it's a really neat looking destroyer. You got these pretty interesting looking turrets. It's very Cold War-esque. I vibe with the style of it. And it looks like if you wait a couple years, you're going to see some guided missiles instead of torpedo launchers or turret main batteries. So yeah, and that's my video on Grozovoi. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. It's as something, if you've got, if you just want a free XP to the be to the tier 10 or to the tier 9, really, just go to the tier 9. If you really want to have fun, start at the tier 9, play Uterloy, get to Grozovoi, and be one of the very few who plays Grozovoi. So guys, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.